Welcome to another podcast episode. If you want to learn all about how certain topical cream recommendations can be customized for you, keep watching because I am going to take you on this journey on a live consultation with both myself and the naturopath on my team, who is going to be doing a consultation for my son and my baby. He had really severe eczema before, and at one point it was so severe that it covered pretty much most of his arms and legs. It was really, really hard for me to watch, and I'll share some photos as well if you're watching the video version today, so you'll get a chance to see how bad it was before. And his skin got so much better through a lot of the things that we were doing. And recently, he had an acute flare up due to something that I introduced to him. He's still a baby, so we're still figuring out what his body is sensitive to and what he reacts to. We don't usually give gluten and dairy, but I tried it for the first time in an extremely long time, and his skin really, really reacted and erupted. So if you are a parent and you're going through this today, I completely understand how you feel. I have had those sleepless nights where they wake up in the middle of the night itching and they're just so frustrated or they're screaming. And so I just want to let you know that you're not alone and it's possible to get better, and that there are ways and solutions for you. So join me in this live consultation with the naturopath on my team. During this consultation, you'll get a sense of some of the topical solutions that you can do, how things can be customized for your either for yourself if you're an adult going through this or for your child. And just a quick disclaimer that there's a saying that when we treat something externally, we will forever be treating it eternally. So we want to pair what we're doing externally with the internal work as well. So even as you watch this live consultation, you'll notice that we do a lot of things to help bring relief topically, but don't forget to also do the work internally because there's a reason why this happened in the first place, and we really want to get to the root cause. If you're interested in learning more, in the link in the description, you can book a complimentary breakthrough call to learn more about what you might be missing in your healing plan. And we can also offer some suggestions and some testing that you can do as well to get to the root cause. So check that out in the link in the description, or either head to eczema-conquerors.com and book that free breakthrough call for you. I just also want to give a disclaimer that it definitely felt very vulnerable to share about what my the process of helping my baby through this as well. I've never really done a live consultation, and um, I really want to bring you on this journey of what it's like to experience the ups and downs, because a lot of times we want that healing and we want it to be right away and to be permanent. But a lot of times there can also be the ups and downs on the journey. And right now we hit a down where we introduce something that his body wasn't quite ready for yet, which also signifies that we have more internal work to do. And the journey has been tough. And we've definitely had a lot of moments where I have had my PTSD triggered. A lot of the trauma has been re-triggered in me when I watched him go through this, because it reminded me of what I went through. So check this episode out, and I really hope that the information that myself and my naturopath share and what we go through as well can help you know that you're not alone and that we are here with you. Enjoy today's episode.
So, Abby, maybe talk me through how was the skin before the cream and how has it been today?
Yeah, that's a really great place to start. My son's skin was very, very flared. It was very red. At times, it was very raw as well. And it even looks like there is oozing and some weeping, but it's just incredibly red. And I would say that I, and you can hear him in the background. I would say that about 90% of his body at one point was covered. About 80 to 90% was covered in rashes or open wounds. And so you can see that There was a lot of scarring as well. And yeah, he would scratch a lot and wake up a lot at night as well. Here's another photo where you can see everything was crusting. These are just some examples. And let me share one last photo of what it was like with his leg as well. It was very red, so you can get an idea of what it was like.
And so maybe share with me, how's the skin like today?
Yeah, his skin has healed significantly. It has improved a lot. He has a little bit of spots here and there, but nowhere near as much as it was before. So it's healed so much. We've also done some internal work as well. So it's not just the topical and physical work that we've done, even though it has helped tremendously. But yeah, it's gone a lot better. The baby skin started coming back, and it hasn't been as dry as it was previously.
Good. Maybe share with me, how's the skin like today? And then from the photos, I will suggest some recommendations for Emmanuel.
Sure. So I'm going to share some photos of his acute flare that just happened. You can see that it's not as bad as it was prior, comparing it to that. But you can see that he still has quite a lot of marks and rashes that came up just a day or two after eating gluten and dairy. So I know that we do have some internal work to do as well. But you can see here, there is still some redness as well. And then I'll try to show another photo where you can see his legs. It's a lot better, mainly dry, itchy, and he does have some red marks as well.
Thanks, Abby. Maybe is it okay to share the first photo because it's the clearest, and then from there I'll talk through what I gleaned from it and some of the recommendations for, I think, the one before this.
Sure.
And so in a skin cream consult, the skin photos tell us many stories, and I'll just talk through what these mean as we go through the photo. So there's one of the thighs, I think the one that right before this, but this is also okay if yeah.
Let me try to find oh, this one. Was it the one on the leg?
Yes.
Okay.
So from this, we glean a few things. Number one is that we see some of those marks, the scratch marks on the skin and the broken skin. When we see broken skin, that is our first priority, because broken skin means that the skin barrier being broken lets in bacteria, allergens, dust, pollen very easily. It's as though the fortress is impaired. So therefore, one priority is for us to repair the fortress walls, because once the fortress walls are repaired, then we prevent further invasion of allergens into the skin. So aim number one today is to repair the skin barrier and heal the wounds. That's number one. Number two, and I'll just annotate on the screen. Let me draw this here. So you can see some of the dry patches like this. These patches here, we see some flaking. And so let me just clear this. So on the flaking areas, we can then look at natural oils, and I will suggest some oils to hydrate the skin, like rosehip oil or maybe sea buckthorn oil. So we have many oils and we'll match it to the skin presentation. Number three, it is red. Therefore, we look at some natural anti-inflammatory herbs or nutrients to reduce inflammation. From this photo alone, we have three goals today. Let me just clear the screen and I'll write down, I'll annotate the goals. So we see these wounds here, and therefore goal number one is to actually seal or repair the skin barrier to prevent further entry of allergens. Now, goal number two, and I use a different color, we see the dry patches here. Therefore, is to hydrate the skin. With the hydration, again, we then fortify the skin barrier, fortify the fortress, and prevent invaders from coming in. Goal number three is then there is generalized redness on the skin, as we see all these red patches here, and therefore it's to then reduce the inflammation so that so that the client has more comfort, so the Emmanuel is more comfortable. So with all these, I'll then move on and I'll share my screen. I'll bring a whiteboard up and I'll draw and I'll write down the recommendations for today. So I think, Abby, if you're okay, I can then open up my screen and it's okay to unshare, and I'll share the screen for today. So this will be the recipe for today.
Sure. And I hope this helps everyone as well, because we are taking you through a live process of what the skin healing journey is like and how hard it can be. So even though you see how red it is, it has kept him up at night when he scratches in the middle of the night. And so I just also want to let you know how I understand that many of you are going through the same thing, whether it's for yourself or your child. And so you're not alone in this, and there are ways to help it get better.
And so to build on to what Abby said, today the 3 goals are: we should heal the skin barrier so that the fortress walls are secure, and therefore to prevent further invasion or entry of allergens. That's the first goal today. And the second goal today then is to hydrate the skin to reduce itching, because dry skin equals to itchy skin. And the goal number 3 today is to reduce the redness and the inflammation. So there are a few options that you can do. The first option is that I can direct you to get these ingredients from iHerb or your nearby herbal pharmacies, your nearby herbal dispensaries. That's option 1. Or option 2, we can customize the creams for you from a pharmacy and ship it to you. So whichever is convenient for you, we'll work around your preferences and to get the cream to you as soon as we can. Now, so Abby, maybe share with me, does Emmanuel do better with creams, lotions, or ointments and balms?
So I haven't noticed a huge difference, but one thing we had talked about in the original consultation was that oils can, in some cases, they can help some people and be very moisturizing. And in some cases, they can cause the staph aureus to grow. And it's common for staph aureus to live on the skin. And so because he was going through the weeping and a lot of raw open wounds, we decided to go with the cream base instead. So yeah, we've been sticking with creams, and then we just added the herbal tinctures to it last time.
Yeah. And also talk me through right now what season it is.
So it is summer right now, so it is very hot and humid as well.
Okay. So I think given these considerations, we'll often match the season with the cream consistency. So if it's summer, we avoid using balms because the balms will sit on the skin, and then the sweat under the skin will create heat, and the heat further triggers more redness. Therefore, summertime, I avoid balms. If it's wintertime, I may favor balms more than creams.
So we had another client just now, and her case was a bit different because her daughter had dry skin, so she found that tallow in the oil-based balm was more moisturizing. So Ben, just to share more, so in some cases, we do also find some clients will do better with oil-based. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So there are some signs that lead me to suggest an oil base or a balm base instead of a lotion base. Number 1, what season is it? If it's winter, I favor balms. Number 2, some individuals, the skin stings with water or lotions because if the skin barrier is so broken, then any water can make the skin painful. And in that cases, I avoid using lotions or creams and I use balms. For some individuals, if I see a lot of staph aureus overgrowth, if there's a yellow crust, if there's a lot of oozing, I avoid using balms because the balms will just add on to the stickiness and the heat. So these are some considerations that we do. And this is how we customize the cream base to each individual.
And Ben, also one thing I want to add as well is that for myself, I was so traumatized from using lotions that I because it stung so much, I still have a lot of trouble using lotions because it's water based. I don't know if anyone else has that fear. And the only main product that I use right now on my skin is pretty much only my Conqueror balm that I carry in my store, or I use zinc oxide and I use the Badgers brand just because it's oil based and my body and skin seems to love the oils a lot more.
Yeah, and also I recall during my own TSW, no, when I had sores everywhere, and when I showered, I would just shower. I'll start with a small part of my body and move on to more and more parts very gradually because it was so painful. Like I would just inch into the shower, inch by inch, because every step would just be burning and painful. So that trauma just remains with me for a long time.
Understand. And it's strange because even to this day when I don't really have the same type of wounds that should sting, but it's still very traumatic and difficult to turn to lotions.
Yeah, I would like inch each step into the bathtub, and I'll just like hold on to the bathtub and just go in very slowly because it's like death by a thousand pricks. It's just so painful. But yeah, so those were
I get it.
the days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
I used to just jump in the shower and even though it was really hard, I just let it sting all over. It was tough.
Yeah. So maybe Abby, talk me through, do you have any existing base creams that you use for Emmanuel? If not, I can suggest some creams that we can consider.
Yes, I found one at the health food store. I can't remember the exact brand name. I think it starts with a O. But yeah, that's the cream base that we've been using.
Okay, so I think if you have an existing cream base that works, let us not change it and let us use a cream base. Then I'll move on to the ingredients to add into the cream base for Emmanuel. So the ingredients inside, let us address the first aim, which is to heal the skin barrier and to repair some of the wounds that we see on the photo. During springtime, does Emmanuel ever get hay fever or does the skin get worse during springtime?
He doesn't get hay fever. He hasn't gone through spring that many times.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's hard to say, but so far no hay fever.
Okay. One herb that is actually quite indicated for the skin, if we see the wounds and the inflammation, is actually calendula. And the reason why I was asking about the hay fever or the worsening during springtime is because calendula is a herb in the daisy family, and some individuals, they are sensitized to calendula or to any herbs in the family, like chamomile, calendula, dandelion. So if while we are not fully certain that Emmanuel isn't daisy family allergic, but it sounds like let us just try some calendula and see and patch test and see if it's okay for him, because if it's okay, it's quite helpful for his skin's presentation at the moment. So calendula liquid, and I'll give you the amount shortly, the proportions, but let us write the ingredients down first. The other thing for the skin, so this calendula addresses the first aim today, to heal the skin barrier. Let's discuss hydration today. For hydration, has Emmanuel ever tried using either rosehip oil or hemp seed oil topically before?
I think we've tried rosehip before
Okay.
in the oil, but he was flaring a lot at that time. So
Yeah.
I don't think I continued it.
Okay, I hear you. So there are many oils that we can consider. Rosehip oil is rich in the beta carotene because of the rich red pigments that we see in the rosehip oil. However, I think for Emmanuel's skin, let us look at hemp seed oil for two reasons. Hemp seed oil contains omega-6 GLA, which is very anti-inflammatory. The other benefit is it contains omega-3 ALA. So GLA stands for gamma-linolenic acid, and ALA stands for alpha-linoleic acid. So therefore, hemp seed oil gives us the best of both worlds with omega-6 and omega-3 anti-inflammatory compounds. And hemp seed oil, Abby, is it available in the supermarkets where you are?
Yes, I take a hemp seed oil internally every day. And I know that we recommend a lot of adults to take it, 2 tablespoons a day if it's good for, if you've noticed that it helps your skin and doesn't cause it to flare. Would you recommend using the same one topically?
Yes, I would. For today, the last ingredient that we can use to reduce the redness and the inflammation, let us look at using, has Emmanuel ever tried using black cumin seed oil on the skin before?
I believe the last tincture had it, the last tincture that was recommended.
So let us use a black cumin seed liquid. And so this will be the recipe. And let me talk you through and I'll guide you on how to mix the ingredients together.
You were sharing something pretty cool about black cumin seed with our client just now, just before this.
Yeah.
Could you walk through the benefits of black cumin seed again with everyone?
Sure. So there was this research study that they did. They gave two groups of people. Group A, they gave them black cumin seed oil to apply on the skin. And group B, they gave them a medium potency steroid. I believe it was betamethasone valerate or mometasone furoate, so mid potency steroid. And they found that in these two groups, after 6 to 8 weeks, they had the same improvements in the skin. And then therefore they found that in conclusion, black cumin seed had the same efficacy as topical steroids. And this was quite amazing because this shows that we can have our cake and eat it. We can have natural interventions and without having the skin atrophy effects or the potential rebound effects of the steroid creams. So yeah, this was a very interesting research. And therefore, I'm suggesting to use the black cumin seed oil to address our goal number 3 today, to reduce the redness and inflammation. And taken together, this whole formula has a few benefits. It is hydrating, it is anti-inflammatory, it is wound healing, and therefore it addresses the big picture. Ben
does this for a lot of our clients in our program, and the amazing thing is that no one person is the same, so everyone gets a very different formula based on what their skin is like and their biggest concern, whether it's dryness or staph aureus overgrowth or weeping. Everyone has a different formulation.
Yeah. And to just show you in my mind what is going on. So in my mind, when we assess the base cream, there's actually a spectrum here. And I draw this for you. We have a spectrum of lotion to ointment. And so to build on our earlier discussion, I will measure and adjust these ingredients to match the skin. So if the skin is more, let me use a different color. If the skin is more weeping, we may use a lotion because the lotion then carries some of the anti-inflammatory benefits to the skin. If the skin is very dry, then we may look at ointments. So there are some customizations, and therefore, and depending on the extent of the dryness or the wetness, we then go on different parts of the spectrum, on whether lotion or ointment more. In this case here, for Emmanuel's skin, I would favor a bit more in the middle somewhere here, because it is dry and it's not infected at the moment. Therefore, we will customize and we'll go on the spectrum and adjust the oils and the liquids accordingly. Also, just caveat, if it's weeping, we may not even use lotion, we may use a spray. Sometimes we customize the herbs and we put in a spray. With just water alone without any preservatives, because many lotions contain some preservatives, because the more water-based it is, the more preservatives are inside. And therefore, some people are okay with just plain pure water, but not the lotions because of the preservatives. So like the client earlier, she was sharing that her baby would love to be in a bath, and she was fine in the bath. However, with a lotion, she would sting. And therefore, the common thing is that both are liquids, but a lotion has preservatives, and therefore we identified that it was a preservative. Like we have phenoxyethanol, we have alcohols in lotions that cause a stinging, and therefore we adjust the spectrum of the dry to the wet spectrum accordingly.
One thing for her as well was that you had recommended a hydrosol, especially because after you come out of the shower, it can take up to 6 hours for the skin pH levels to go back to normal. And so because of this, the hydrosols, the pH levels are more acidic to protect the acid mantle on the skin. And when bacteria grows, that's when the skin becomes more alkaline. So we want to avoid that. And so the more that we can keep the acid mantle healthy, and the more we can keep it acidic, the more we can keep bacteria out. And that makes a healthier skin barrier. So the hydrosol really helps with that as well.
Yeah, yes. And therefore, the acid mantle is so important because when the skin is acidic, it can naturally fight against bacteria and yeast more efficiently because the terrain becomes not so inhabitable to the bacteria. So for the base cream, a few steps. We can do 100 grams of the base cream in a mixing bowl. And then step number two, add the calendula liquid, 2.5 mils. So a few options. You can either get this from your local herbal dispensary, or I can send this to you from the dispensaries that we use, which they use practitioner grade liquids, which are also good for internal use. Therefore, it's very high quality.
Thank you. And I believe you mentioned that the ones you use are also free from heavy metals.
Yes. So in Australia, the TGA, which is the Therapeutic Goods Administration, they're very strict on Australian products, and therefore they screen for heavy metals, and they must all also have this GMP, good manufacturing practices, and therefore we have used these liquids for like many decades, and it has worked so well both internally and externally for our patients.
Just to emphasize, I know that when as we share this, a lot of people are going to try to do DIY this formula themselves. So one thing to emphasize is that Ben does customize it for every person. So it may not always work as effectively for each person, depending on what your area of concern is. So if you are dealing with Staph aureus or dryness or another concern, then that's when the formula needs to be customized even further to match your biggest concerns and needs.
Yeah, and to add to Abby's point, no two person has the same formula because it's so individual. And in this case here, so Abby, I think one of the recommendations for today is let us put 2.5 mils of calendula liquid and 2.5 mils of black cumin seed liquid into the cream. And then the cream have around 100 grams of cream inside and mix it in. And the hemp seed oil, because I'm mindful to balance the dryness and the oiliness, you can have some flexibility to adjust it yourself, and you see what amount works for you. So therefore, I think also many clients, when they can have some adjustments and they can play around with it, it gives them also some gratification on how to adjust it. So if you find it too wet, then use the if it's too dry, then use a higher number of hemp seed oil, about 4 mils. If it's too hydrating, drop it down to 2 mils.
And for some background, I remember we did this last time, and you mentioned that one of the reasons not to make it too hydrating as well is because Staph aureus can grow if there's too much moisture, and it can actually make it thrive in that environment.
Exactly. But also in this case here, we're adding in a calendula and a hemp and a black cumin seed. And with these two liquids, then we have some antimicrobial actions already. And therefore, this prevents the Staph aureus or the yeast or the fungi from growing, because if we just did the hydration alone without the herbs, then we have a higher risk of the liquids, a higher risk of the cream feeding the staph. However, the liquids here, the two liquids would actually help to reduce that and address the issue. Therefore, the whole cream becomes synergistic.
And Ben has drawn a diagram. So if you do want to actually be able to view the diagram, you can head to my YouTube page and watch the video version at Eczema Conquerors.
And thanks, Ed. Are there any further questions for today? And is it all clear?
Ben, so one last thing is that people who are listening or tuning into this, some of them will probably ask what the effectiveness of this is without doing anything internal. So what are your views on just doing this, or either doing this? Is it necessary to continue with the internal as well?
For sure. And let me just draw this for you. So usually in my practice, and I mean in the whole Eczema Conquerors program, we have a multi-pronged approach. External, skin, we have the guts, we have the liver, we have the blood, we have the detox pathways, we have stress and nervous system, and the adrenals, we have heavy metals, and so on. And these are all major contributors to the skin. And so we will then identify which are the major areas and address them. The skin is one part of the puzzle, and therefore this gives us some relief externally here. But we must also address the gut, because the gut and skin are linked. There's a gut-skin axis. The liver and the skin are linked. The liver and the gut are linked. Heavy metals and the skin are linked, and it also affects the liver. The blood affects the skin, and the stress affects the skin. The stress affects the gut, and the detox pathways are all linked to the liver, the gut, and heavy metals. Therefore, in this messy diagram, we see that they're all linked, and therefore we must address the whole big picture together.
Yes, because I feel like after people listen to this, they will only want to see you to address the external part. And I think it's important to emphasize that the external alone may be temporary, but we need to address the bigger picture, which is everything internally: the heavy metals, gut, liver, detox pathways, our blood, our stress, nervous system, adrenals, and so much more as well, nutrient deficiencies.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And therefore, and so the skin has 6 layers, and the cream helps the top 1 or 2 layers, but the bottom layers, we must always do internal work to reach, to address inside out and outside in concurrently for the best success.
Thank you so much, Ben. I know that you have to go right now. Any last words you want to say?
No, I'm good. I think that this will be a journey, and think of it as different layers of the onion. We are peeling each layer slowly, and therefore, as we peel each layer, you will see gradual improvements. And as we address the gut, the liver, the skin, heavy metal, stress, we see gradual and sustainable improvements for our clients.
I hope that this helps everyone who's listening, and also gives you a real view on what it's like to actually have a child, or either even myself, who has gone through this and is going through the flares as well. So I hope it allows you to feel that you're not alone, and that we are here with you, and we're here supporting you. And we know the journey is hard, and even the sleepless nights, the frustration and the tears, but you're not alone in this. There are a lot of great practitioners such as Ben on my team, and we are here for you. So if you're interested in learning more, you can always book a complimentary breakthrough call in the link in the description, or at eczemaconquerors.com. And we would love to help support you on your journey today. And thank you for taking the time to listen to this. And we hope that we're able to help you on your journey. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Ben, for everything that you do as well.
Thanks, Abby, and thanks, everybody.